We started the Shravanotsav and continued that for 28 days. And we had so many wonderful devotees who came online and spoke to us various wonderful lessons. And because those lessons were so important, I thought that let's have this summary session to talk about the key lessons that we have learned from those pastimes of Lord Krishna. These are actual pastimes which happened around 5,000 years ago. But even though those pastimes happened actually, at this point in time, when we are actually talking about those pastimes, what can we learn from those pastimes? And our acharyas have very wonderfully given some lessons that we can take, implement those in our life, and make our devotional life successful and go closer to Krishna. And that is the whole point of doing the Shravanotsav as well as doing this summary session for understanding the key lessons. We covered this, that we are the spirit soul, we are not this body. But somehow or the other, over a period of time, we have got conditioned in these three modes of material nature. Mode of goodness, mode of passion and ignorance. And because for so long, we have been actually being conditioned, we have completely forgotten that we are the spirit soul and we are not this body. And all our activities are focused towards our bodily needs. Eating, mating, sleeping and defending. But over a period of time, like by our good fortune and by devotees' mercy, we met some devotees. And the devotees said that, oh, you are not this body, you are a spirit soul. And I said, really? I am a spirit soul? Then the devotees mentioned to us that not only you are spirit soul, but there is Supreme Lord, and He is the whole, and you are the part and parcel. And you can connect to that Supreme Lord by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And through this process of Bhakti Yoga. And we were very happy. Oh, let me try. And we started doing this chanting. And we, in our mind, we were thinking that in my heart now, I will see this beautiful face of Krishna. But when we start looking for Krishna within our heart, instead of actually seeing Krishna, what we see, instead of this rosy, beautiful heart, it appears now a black heart. And instead of seeing Krishna, we start seeing lots of anarthas, lots of demons inside our heart. And then we get bewildered. Hey, what happened? I came to this process of Krishna consciousness for progress towards Krishna. Earlier I did not even have this visibility of these anarthas in my heart. Suddenly I am seeing these anarthas. So is it because I am chanting, that's why I am seeing these anarthas? Am I going backwards or forward? And then we discussed that we are going forward. And we took this example of the house being closed for many years. And then when we come back, you see that there is a lot of dust, dirt and everything. So similarly, for many millions of lifetimes, we haven't paid any attention towards our heart. Our heart has become full of anarthas. The light is switched off. And we are just living as if there is no tomorrow. There is no next life. And that is how things are going on. And when we start actually chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, the light is switched on. And now we are able to see that there is a lot of anarthas within our heart, which is a good progress. Now that we know that there are a lot of dust, dirt in our heart, and this Hare Krishna Mahamantra is working as a broom or a vacuum cleaner, which is clearing this heart this anarthas in our heart. And if you keep chanting regularly, all of these anarthas will go away. And that is what we are now taking a step towards Krishna. Once the dirt is cleaned, then in that clear mirror, we will be able to see that we are the servant of the Supreme Lord. And we will be able to serve the Supreme Lord properly. And that is how we will be able to connect Him. And this black heart will become again rosy. And we will be able to see Lord Krishna seated in our heart. And then we started thinking that, okay, let's introduce all these anarthas which are there in our heart. And we saw, at least till the chapter 27, that we have covered in our Shravanotsav, so many demons. At the same time, we also saw some demigods as well, some devatas. So these demons and devatas, they are referring to some anartha. Even the devatas have lots of good qualities, sometimes they will also get bewildered. Similarly, though we have some materialistic good qualities, those also may turn into some anarthas in the end. And those needs to be overcome before we can get to Krishna. And that is what we started looking at one by one. Of course, there is long way to go, and we have only talked about Putana, Vatsasur and Shakatasur. So for Putana, Prabhuji has already covered Pundarikaksha Prabhu, that represents false or fake guru. There are two types, internal, external, and the internal is referring to the mind, which is giving various different arguments and overcoming our devotional inclination by giving some reasoning that don't do this, this is not good, let's do something else. Like that, it keeps on going. So we don't have to listen to that mind, listen to the scriptures. That is the way that we can overcome. And the external guru we can overcome. External guru, external fake guru, is the hypocrite posing as a guru. He's not actually qualified to be a guru, but he's posing as a guru and misguiding a devotee. And Krishna has to actually come to kill this Putana. So we need to actually also take some endeavor. So when we are actually approaching a guru, we need to actually make sure that he is a bona fide guru, he or she is a bona fide guru, coming from the disciplic succession. He or she will be able to connect us to the Supreme Lord. And if we do not take care of that, then we will have problems in our life, and Putana is going to kill our devotional service. Then we talked about Shakatasur. Who wants to actually cover Shakatasur? What did we see? What the Shakatasur is representing as an anartha. What kind of burden we have in our heart?
Like all our past deeds, we are attached to it.
Past deeds, habits. We talked about these various habits that we have, and that is creating a burden in our heart.
And also we have developed new habits.
Yeah, new bad habits.
Yeah.
We already have lots of old habits, but even after taking devotional service, in devotional service as well, we are having created some bad habits like lethargy, not chanting properly, chanting while doing some other things, and not following four letter principles properly, or many other bad habits that we may have. What else? How do we overcome them?
In order to not stick to those bad habits, we have to replace them with more sadhana and things like that, so that it will divert us from those bad habits.
Yeah, who else can say what we have to do?
If you are good with good association, automatically bad habits will get replaced with good habits.
Yeah, so lethargy will go in the association of enthusiastic devotees. If you are lethargic, and we talked about how the Krishna's friends, they were talking about aham purvam, aham purvam. So Hari Parshad Prabhu very nicely was explaining that how the Krishna's devotees and his friends, they were actually trying to play with Krishna, and in that they wanted to be the first. So similarly, we should also try to push ourselves. Instead of being lethargic, we should say that I wanted to do the service. Instead of thinking that Krishna has so many devotees, someone is really going to serve him, I don't have to do. Someone will do it. No, that someone, we should say that I am that someone and I will do that service. If we do it, then we will progress towards Krishna. And also the bad habits, as Prabhuji was mentioning. So main idea is that when anything that we are trying to follow, we should try to follow in spirit instead of just mechanically trying to do it. If you try to do it mechanically, then attachment will not develop. It will feel like a burden. and we don't want to actually be in that burden zone. We should be actually eager to do something. And that will happen when we actually put some feelings towards it. Just like when we were talking about burden, that when we have someone you love, then there is no burden. When the mother is carrying the child or whatever, there is no burden. But if you don't like someone, then immediately that will become burden. So similarly, if you are following some rules and regulations, if you are doing it out of just somebody has said without understanding the reasoning, then what will happen is it will become a burden on us. We don't want to be doing it mechanically. We need to understand it in spirit and follow it. Also, many of the bad habits that we have accumulated, or even some ritualistic things that we have been doing for so long, now that we have got the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, which is like Chintamani, we don't have to really keep doing all the old things. That will also become burden. And we have to get rid of that burden, follow this process properly, and then make progress towards Krishna. Very briefly. Then we looked at the demon of Trinavarta. What is Trinavarta representing? Who remembers what is Trinavarta representing? Someone who hasn't spoken yet? And who was awake yesterday? Oh, you were awake, Prabhu? Okay.
False pride.
False pride. So Trinavarta is representing the false pride from material scholarship, which gives rise to bogus philosophies. So, can you explain that further?
Sure. It's more about when we become advanced materially and things like that, that pride can come into us. For example, we may have a high education or financially very well, or we're very successful in those material endeavors, and pride can get in the way. And it's also about they're bogus because they're temporary, not going to lead us to any lasting fulfillment.
Yeah. So Dharmam tu Sakshat Bhagavad Pranitam, we looked at that Dharma is coming from the Supreme Lord Himself, not from some bogus people. And how do you know who is bogus or not? So we talked about that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj and Srila Prabhupada has given a simple formula. They have given this practice of chanting and studying scriptures, and then if you are chanting properly, if you are reading Srila Prabhupada books properly, automatically that what will result is service. If you are doing service properly, then you can understand that the devotee is not like a fake person, he doesn't have the false pride. The false pride comes because we are too much focused only on jnana, not focusing on vijnana. So jnana means the knowledge that we are receiving, vijnana means applied knowledge. So once we receive the knowledge, we should start applying that in our day-to-day life. And how do we do that? By doing various different devotional services, some activities. And that is how we will also implement or utilize our goodness, passion and ignorance in Krishna's service. So Jnana and Vijnana both are required. If Vijnana is not there, then we will just become Jnanis. And that particular knowledge that we will keep gathering, which will create pride. Even if it is like devotional knowledge that we get. Because the problem is, we are not Parikshit Maharaj, that we can just sit there and hear Srimad Bhagavatam without worrying about food, water or nature stall or anything. And you can sit there for 7 days and 7 nights and hear it. We are not in that situation. We have a lot of passion, ignorance and some goodness. And because of that situation, we have to keep utilizing that passion and ignorance in Krishna's service. And that is how we will purify ourselves. Anyway, so that was briefly what we covered till now. Now, part 2. Let us finish few more demons from our heart. So by now I am hoping that these 3 demons, Putana, Shakatasur and Trinavarta, is gone from your heart. If not, whatever you have learned, use that over a period of time and gradually these anarthas will go away. Remember, without actually getting rid of those anarthas, there is no point or no chance of going to Ruchi, Asakti, Bhav and Prema. Anartha Nivritti is required before we can go to Ruchi, Asakti, Bhav and Prema. And our goal is to go to that Prema of the Supreme Lord. And without having this foundation of Anartha Nivritti, we cannot even go to Nishtha, which is the firm faith. And if no Nishtha, then there is no Ruchi, Asakti, Bhav, Prema. So it is important to do Anartha Nivritti.
Just when we are talking about Tulavata, you were connecting to fault finding, right?
Yes, Mataji.
How do you connect it?
So because Trinavarta is this whirlwind. So whirlwind means that all the dust and dirt goes around. And when this whirlwind comes, you cannot see anything else but only the dust and dirt around us. So that means we can only see faults in others. So that dust and dirt that we are seeing, instead of seeing Krishna, everywhere else, oh fault, 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 fault. Like that is what we will actually see. And that we have to actually stop doing. That is how we connected there. Okay. So the first demon for today is Vatsasur. Vatsasur was the calf demon. So he disguised as a calf. And then he thought that he will go inside the cows and the calves which are there and no one will notice. But Krishna knows everything. And that is how Krishna actually found this calf demon and killed him. So this, our acharyas explain that this Vatsasur is representing a childish type of mentality which gives rise to greediness. And that greediness becomes, over a period of time, very mischievous and wicked. As you can see, sometimes when children, they want something more and more. For example, whatever they like, if they like laddus, they will say that, oh, give me laddus, give me laddus. Or if they like toys, they will keep saying that, oh, give me more toys, new toys, new toys. And when you say no, they don't like it. And then, by hook or crook, they want it. And then, they will become very mischievous sometimes. And sometimes, they can even go to further and will go towards bad habits of stealing or whatever that may happen. So we want to actually make sure that this kind of behavior doesn't come into our heart. Unfortunately, it is already there. So that greed and that greed leading to bleed. Our Radhesham Prabhuji was mentioning. The greed leads to bleed. So we don't want to go into that. So this particular demon, Vatsasur, in the past life, it is mentioned in Garga Samhita that he was a demon called Pramila, son of Muru. And he was very, very powerful. And he was very opulent as well, because he was so powerful, he has won so many things. One fine day, he goes to Vashishta Rishi's ashram. And Vashishta Muni had this beautiful cow called Nandini. And he thought that like the greed started. He has so many things, but now he wants this cow as well. So he knew that if I become a Brahmana, so he disguised as a Brahmana and he went to Vashishta Muni saying that, oh, in charity give me this cow. Vashishta Muni understood. He is a very realized soul. He understood he is a demon. So he did not say anything. But the cow could not actually keep quiet. The cow said that you are a demon and you have turned into, like, disguised as a cow, disguised as a Brahmana, and that is how you want to take me. I curse you that you will become a demon in the form of cow. And that is why he actually took this demon form and then he became cow and then Krishna actually liberated him. So as we can see from Vatsasura's childish activity, like Pramila's activity, that he developed quite a lot of greed. Though he had so many things, but he developed greed, and to achieve what he wanted, he was ready to go to any particular limit. He was crossing all the limits actually. He disguised as a Brahmana and then he was asking at the charity. So he was cheating Vasishtha Muni. And by cheating he was trying to achieve what he wanted. And that was why he is representing like this. So what can you do to get rid of this demon now from our heart? Everyone has greed, some kind of greed, and different people will have different kinds of greed, and how you can actually get rid of that from your heart. Yes, ma'am.
If you have any greed that you have to use that thing in the Krishna service, then it will get it.
We want to use it in Krishna's service, and by that you want to get rid of it.
Having a good association.
Having good association is going to help.
We want more and more, so we should try to give more and more. And
Yeah, very good. So it is opposite, right? So in greed, our mentality is I want, I want, I want. In charity, what is the mentality? You are giving, and you are giving. So happiness in greed is that I want, and by getting something I will become happy. But actually in charity, also we get a lot of happiness. And that happiness is even higher than the happiness that you can get when you are just taking. When you start giving, you will find that you will get more and more happiness. So this can be counteracted, the greed can be counteracted by giving charity. And it doesn't matter how much you have, you can still give charity. You remember that example of half pomegranate that we talked about many times? That even this old lady did not have anything to give, only half pomegranate which she was eating, and when she understood that Buddha was taking charity, she went there and said that please take this, I only have this much. And Buddha was so pleased that he came down from his high seat and took it personally. And everything else he was just taking like by waving the hand. And everyone was surprised to know how Buddha just for the half pomegranate came to take. And then Lord Buddha explained that because she gave her 100%. She did not have anything else. She only had half pomegranate and she has given. You had like 100 million and you are giving 1,000. Like that is the difference between when now Lord is reciprocating. Ye yatha mam prapadyante tam sataiva bhajamyaham. So greed can be counteracted by charity. Any other points? How we can actually get rid of this vatsasur from our heart? Yes, sir.
Can charity be in the form of service instead of, say, Lakshmi or...
Oh, of course. Yeah. It can be in different forms. You can actually donate your time, you can donate Lakshmi, you can donate other stuff that you may have, or you can even donate your skill, because different people will have different skills, and that skill you can utilize in Krishna's service, and that is how you can donate.
I'm wondering whether, another point is whether when we feel like this, just realizing what we do have and being grateful. You mentioned gratitude before.
Oh yes, yeah, being satisfied. Yeah, being satisfied with what you have. That will also reduce the greed. Yes. And that is very important point. So we have a lot of weaknesses in our heart, or anarthas. And those weaknesses bring out some desires. And these desires, when they are coming out of our weaknesses, there are two things that you can do. Our conscious is telling us that let's not do it. This desire is coming, but it is coming from my weakness, from my anartha. Let's not do it. And we have two choices at that point. Either we can shut the conscious, we can say, oh conscious, keep quiet. Or you can shut the desire. And depending on what you choose, that will actually lead to whether your vatsasur is growing or vatsasur is kept under control. Because everyone has desires. Everyone has some weaknesses. But whether you actually let that weakness grow by indulging into those desires, or you keep those weaknesses under control, that is dependent on each of us. And that is how we can silencing the desires coming from weakness, instead of silencing the conscious which is telling us to silence the weakness, we can progress. Is that making sense? Or did I confuse you? Any questions? No? Okay. And of course, turning to the positive desires, someone mentioned. And instead of taking, you start giving. Any question before we move on to the next Asura? On Vassasura. See, we finished one demon very so quickly in 10 minutes. Okay, next demon. Bakasura. What did we learn from Bakasura? Bakasura's lecture was given by Kanai Thakur Prabhu. So what did Kanai Thakur Prabhu taught us about Bakasura? What was that demon representing? Duplicity. Very good. Cunning. So what Bakasura is representing the cunning, duplicity, deceptiveness and false type of behavior. Why for Bakasura like this? Was that when Bakasura appeared, Bakasura is a crane. Cranes means bagra in Marathi. I don't know in Hindi what do you call a crane? Bagula. Okay. So how this crane acts? They will stand on one leg inside the water, and as if they are in meditation, like a yogi. And they also have this like feathers here, which is looking like a shikha. So they act as if they are advanced yogis, standing on one leg, having shikha. But what is their intention? To catch the fish. They have this big beak, and with this big beak, as soon as the fish comes, they will catch the fish and eat them. So that is the duplicitous behavior that is represented by Bakasura. And all of us have, somewhere or the other, this cunning duplicity. And that is why Kanai Thakur Prabhuji was very nicely mentioning that Vaishnavata means Saralata. That Vaishnavas are not duplicitous. They are very Sarala. And Sarala in one way we say that they are straightforward or whatever. But sometimes that straightforwardness can turn into harshness. Straightforwardness never means harshness. It has to be pleasing as well. So Vaishnavas are pleasing and sarala. They are not duplicitous and they are not deceptive. They do not have this false type of behavior. So what is the root cause? Very wonderfully, Kanai Thakur Prabhuji explains so nicely this point, and that is why when we are covering the other demons, we said that we will actually cover this pride-related part when we come to Bakasura. Anyone remembers what Prabhuji mentions about pride? Yeah. Pride brings curse and humility brings the blessings. That was actually from his previous life. So Prabhuji was mentioning the story that Bakasura in his previous life was demon Haigriva's son called Utkal. And he was very powerful. He fought with demigods. He even stole. He was so powerful that he defeated Indra and also stole his umbrella. But with his power came pride. And one day he went close to Jajali Muni's ashram. And at that place he started catching fish. He put his rod and he started catching fish using the rod and started eating. And Jajali Muni got disturbed by that and he said that, oh, if you want to do all of these things, don't do near my ashram. Go away from here. And he said, hey, who are you? I am so powerful. What are you saying you go away from here? So this Utkala did not listen to Jajali Muni. Then Jajali Muni of course said that, okay, you think that you are very powerful? I curse you. You want to eat fish? Go and become a crane. Then you will naturally be eating fish only for whole of your life. Then you don't have to be a human being and catch fish and eat. So then he became crane immediately. So then of course he begged for forgiveness and Jajali Muni looked at his humility and he thought that, oh, now he gave him this countermeasure to come out of this curse. He said that when Krishna comes, Krishna will finish you and at that time you will get liberated and you will get the mukti, liberation. So that is why Kanai Thakur Prabhuji was mentioning that pride, Utkala's pride, because out of his pride then he was not able to listen to anyone and that actually brought him curse. But as soon as he became humble and fell at the feet of Jajali Muni, immediately he got a blessing. Because there was no possibility for the demon like Utkala to get Krishna's darshan or blessing or be part of Krishna's pastime. Even as a demon, it was not possible. It was only because of Jajali Muni's mercy that then he became part of that pastime and also then got killed in the hands of Krishna and got liberated. So what is the root cause of this problem? That Prabhuji was mentioning that material success, any material success or opulence that we have, that actually leads to pride. If you are successful or you have some material opulence and various kinds of opulences we can have, like you have a lot of money or you have beauty or you have renunciation, you have knowledge, you have power, you have fame. Any of these opulences, if you have, that will bring pride into your heart. And very interesting, Prabhuji mentioned that when pride comes, it reduces respect for others. That is what happened with Utkala, that because of his pride, he started thinking, who are you? What are you going to do? I am so powerful, I even defeated demigods. So you are just a normal, ordinary human and you are asking me to go away from here. So he started ignoring the saintly people and he started disrespecting them. And when pride comes, we compare others. Prabhuji was mentioning that we starts comparing other people. Look at that. I have so much. What do you have? I'm so beautiful or handsome. Hey, you are so ugly or whatever. Or I have this much power. I am so strong. You are so weak. Like that we start comparing and start disrespecting others. And then also when pride comes, our wrong acts we start justifying. And finally, what happens as the result of pride? One becomes also envious. How? Because we have some opulence, we start thinking, I have it. No one should go beyond me. No one should have more opulence than me. Because if someone gets more rich than me, more beautiful or handsome than me, more powerful than me, then my opulence will be automatically come down. So out of that envy for others, we start pulling them down. And that is very dangerous. So started from material opulence and if the journey went to pride to disrespect. Disrespect is going to then bring curses from and unhappiness from the other people around us. that leads to envy, and envy actually then fall down. So how can we save ourselves from this demon of Bakasur? Yes, Mother.
By respecting
By respecting
others.
others. But we do not have respect of them. How will we come to that respect point? That's right. Of course, we have to respect others. By humility. Yeah. So the counter of pride is we have to have humility. And Prabhuji mentioned this beautiful story of humility and surrender of the three Alvaras. And there were these three Alvars who once they were discussing about surrender. And while surrender, like they were discussing, they took shelter in a hut. And this hut was of a hunter. And while they were discussing and sitting there with hunter, this hunter suddenly asked a question, saying that I don't understand how I behave like this today. And he himself starts saying that actually I am a very cruel hunter. What I do is and he showed his Parshu. He said that using this Parshu, like an axe kind of a weapon, using that I hunt. But when I hunt, I don't kill them completely. I half kill them. And that is how I hunt. But today suddenly something happened. I was hunting these rabbits. And suddenly one rabbit came close to me and he started licking my feet. And somehow or the other, my heart changed and I threw my Parshu, my axe, and I lifted this rabbit. And I started loving him. And I kept him separately with me. And I don't understand how this happened. That how come I could show this kind of mercy and this to the rabbit. And suddenly while hearing this story, one Alvar jumped into the air. And he said, I found the answer, I found the answer, I found the answer. And the other Alvaras are looking, what is happening with this? So the idea is that surrender. That the surrender of that rabbit changed even the heart of a very cruel person, of this hunter. Now imagine Lord Krishna, he is already merciful. If you surrender to Lord Krishna, how much mercy and how much love he will give to us. So surrender even changes the heart of a cruel person and he will be starting to love you. So if you surrender, if you show humility, then what will happen to our relationship with Krishna? How fast we will progress. So pride is bringing curse and the humility is bringing blessings. And that is true for the devotees around us as well. And Prabhuji, I think in question and answers as well, many points were mentioned. I think it may have been also Devakinandan Prabhu may have mentioned few points about how to overcome pride and how to bring humility. So many wonderful points came up. But main idea is that we have to develop this humility. It was mentioned that when the tree is laden with fruits, automatically the tree comes down, it bows down. So whenever we have some opulence, instead of becoming like proud like this, we should bow down. We should develop humility. Only then it looks beautiful. Otherwise, people will not be liking you. Even though you have lot of opulences, they will be keeping distance from you. Only if they have some work, they will come to you. But as soon as the work finish, they will give you up. But whereas, if you have humility, they will want to remain in your association. They will want to remain as close to you as possible. And that is how you will get association, you will make progress. So, how can we save ourselves from becoming this demon? Of course, develop humility. Anything else, Prabhuji?
Prabhuji mentioned the 3 point points. Bhakta Padaduri, Padajaya, and Bhakta Remanence, devotees remanence.
Yeah. So before that, Prabhuji mentioned about Gaurera Achar and Gaurera Prachar. So we have to actually have the Achar and Prachar same as Lord Chaitanya. So just like Lord Chaitanya has been doing, his achar was very humble, and he was actually always chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and his prachar was, he was always going and making everyone, giving this holy name to everyone. So this achar and prachar has to be matching, and we should be able to follow in the footsteps of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and all the other previous acharyas that we have. And of course, Prabhuji jokingly was mentioning in the end, Kanaya Thakur Prabhuji is so hilarious. Yeah. So Prabhuji was mentioning, but in jokingly as well, he mentioned three things. That how we can actually get humility. And he was mentioning that three things that we should take shelter of. Bhakta Pada Dhuli, that means the dust at the lotus feet of the devotees, pure devotees he is talking about. So pure devotees, lotus feet, we should take shelter of. That means the Charana Raja or the dust. Then second one is when their feet is washed, that water, if you drink, that will help us. And also the third thing is the remnants, the prasadam, Maha Prasad that we can get, that we have offered to the Supreme Lord, and a pure devotee has had that prasadam. And then their remnants, if we take, just like Narad Muni in his previous life took that and came to the stage of Narad Muni. But of course, one important point in all of these is that Narad Muni took that with the permission of those sages, and that is showing the surrender. Surrender, because finally all these 3 points that we are mentioning, that you want the dust from their feet, the water from which is washed after washing their feet, or their remnants. What all these things are mentioning? They are mentioning that, oh, you are very worshipable to me, and I am your servant. And what it means is, you should be surrendered and you should be able to accept the instructions from the devotees from whose the Charana Raj or water or the remnants we are accepting. So that is the most important part, accepting the instructions from the devotee. And just like Narad Muni in his previous life, when he was a son of a maid servant, he accepted the instructions from those Bhakti Vedantis and then followed in their footsteps, and that is how actually he made to that level. It was not only just by some magically he took some prasad from their like the remnants that were there and then he became liberated. No, not only he took, of course that has potency, but he also followed the instructions and continued like that. Then we have to avoid duplicitous behavior. So don't cheat for your own gain. Sometimes there is some transcendental cheating happens, like Krishna cheats so many times. And the devotees also sometimes may have some transcendental cheating that will happen, but they never cheat for their own gain. Their cheating is mainly for the devotee's benefit. But Srila Prabhupada also asked us to not even cheat for that reason. And there were some examples that some devotees were trying to distribute books by giving some false description. And then when Srila Prabhupada came to know, then Srila Prabhupada said that no, our books are so important and they have so much transcendental knowledge, you can distribute them on their own merit. And he said that you read the book and you will be able to then explain how the books are important and what kind of knowledge that is there, and then you will be able to distribute them properly. But still sometimes there may be a requirement for saving for some higher goal. You may have to actually be sometimes some cheating that may happen. And we talked about one example in the yesterday's session. For example, if you want to save someone's life, at that time you can lie, saying that, oh, this person is not hiding in my house. Otherwise, this person the gangster will come and kill the person. So when the gangster comes, you can say, no, I don't know. He's not here. And then he will go away. And this person will be saved. And someone will say, oh, Vaishnavata means Saralata. You should have said actually truthfully, Saral, straightforward. Yes, this person is inside my house. No, that is foolishness. That is not Saralata. And one important point that our Kanai Thakur Prabhuji mentioned was that Saralata, they are simple but not simpletons. They are not foolish. That they will just do like this. They have intelligence, they know what is the higher goal, they know the essence of those instructions, and by following those instructions, they are making progress. Okay, Bakasur is finished.
Literally gone. He is dead.
Prabhuji, a little question.
Yes, sir.
Is there a practical example of how we can follow, how we can surrender? I know you mentioned following the instructions. Is there one practical example?
No, there are not one practical example, there are 6 practical examples which are there. The definition of surrender has been mentioned by our acharyas, and it is mentioned that anukulasya sankalpa pratikulasya varjanam rakshasyati vishwaso gopatrutve varnam tatha atmanikshepa karpanya shadavidha sharanagati. So Rupa Goswami has mentioned what is the meaning of sharanagati, what is the meaning of surrender. And there are 6 factors which are given. It's a big topic, but very briefly, anukulasya sankalpa means whatever is favorable for your devotional service, you should do more and more. Pratikulasya varjanam means whatever is unfavorable for your devotional service, you should give it up. That is surrender. Anukulasya sankalpa pratikulasya varjanam. Rakshasiti vishwaso. You should have this firm faith that Krishna is going to protect me. Not your life insurance, not your medical insurance, not nothing else, not your money, not your bank balance. It's finally Krishna who is going to protect me. And then Gopatrutve Varanam Tatha means Krishna is my maintainer, no one else. Then Atmanikshepa. Then use everything that you have in Krishna's service. That is Atmanikshepa. And Karpanya means having humility, developing humility. So these 6 factors are the practical ways of coming to the stage of surrender. Alright. You have some questions there or some points?
No.
No? Okay. Any other questions on Bakasur? So have you understood how you can get rid of Bakasur from your heart? Bakasur is duplicity, which is actually which is rising from the pride and then envy and then duplicity that is coming. So be straightforward, sarala, but pleasant. Develop humility. Humility is going to bring blessings. Pride is going to bring curses. And the Vaishnavachara, like Gaurera Achar, Gaurera Prachar, as well as the 3 things from the devotee's lotus feet that we actually talked about, the Charana Raja, Charana water, and the remnants. Okay? Yes,
Prabhuji, so you said it's okay to lie to save someone's life. How about one's own life?
Oh, that's also fine. See, human life is so precious. Human life is so precious that even the sages go to extreme extent to save that life, because in human life it is possible to realize the Supreme Lord. In other lives it is not possible. There is a story that Vishwamitra Muni, when he was doing some austerity at one particular point, there was nothing for him to eat. Do you know what he ate? He ate a dog. Can you believe this? We say that we have to follow 4 relative principles. But Vishwamitra Muni, to save his life, he ate a dog. He went to that extent to save his life. But what was the result? He was using his life for becoming more and more conscious of the Supreme Lord. And from the Kshatriya life, he was a Kshatriya before, he came to Brahmarshi level. But if he would have given up his life at that time, how he would have used the human life for self-realization? That doesn't mean that you just every day you go and eat meat. He wanted to save his life. There was nothing possible, otherwise he would die now. At that point, he said that, okay, I will take it. But if you are a Vaishnava already, and you are at that level, where you die now at this point in time, you will go back to Godhead, then don't eat meat, don't eat dog at that point. Just go back. So saving one's life, who asked the question? You asked. Saving one's life is very important, and even the great sages go to that extent to save the human life, because human life can be used for self-realization and connecting to the Supreme Lord. But only you can do all of that when you are using your life for connecting to the Supreme Lord. Otherwise, any of these activities will only create sins for us. Okay. So let's go to the next demon, which is Aghasur. Aghasur, very dangerous. The snake demon. Aghasur is representing cruelty and violence. Why? Because by nature the snakes are cruel and they are envious. They will, for no reason, they will kill by their poison. And it is explained in the past time when it was going on that when Aghasura came, he saw that all the Krishna, Balaram, no actually Balaram was not there at that time, Krishna and the other Gopa friends of Krishna, they were happily playing. And there is a description of lots of games that they were playing. And looking at this happy pastime, Aghasur became unhappy. And he said that, I will finish them all. So he became unhappy by looking at the happiness of others. Of course, he came with the purpose of killing Krishna, but it is clearly mentioned that looking at this happy pastimes which was going on with Krishna and his friends, he became unhappy and then he decided to kill them. And that is why Aghasur is representing cruelty and violence. So our Hariparshad Prabhuji was taking this pastime and he mentioned Agha is, what is Agha? Throat? Papa, sins. So Agha means, he said Papa. And as Krishna has said, Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Raja Aham Tvam Sarva Papebhyo Mokshayishyami Ma Shucha. When Krishna comes into picture, Papa is finished. So when Krishna entered in Aghasura's mouth, if the Papa is finished and Aghasura is the Papa personified, he came like that. So as soon as Krishna entered, Aghasur finished. So that is how the cruelty and violence we have to finish from our life. The past life stories are there, but we are going to skip that. And the root cause. What is the root cause of this cruelty and violence that we have in our heart? The cruelty and the violence comes from the hatred that we have for others. When we hate someone, at that time, we can become very cruel towards them. We can become very violent towards them. What is the opposite of hatred and cruelty? Love and mercy or compassion. Very good. So if you want to get rid of this demon from our heart, which is the hatred for someone and the cruelty that we have for someone, we need to somehow or the other develop love and compassion for them. And the main idea here is that we should have compassion for everyone. So Vaishnavas are explained by these three qualities which were discussed. Maybe not in the same session, but in general. How can you define a Vaishnava? The three things for a Vaishnava.
Namaruchi.
Yes. And?
Vaishnava Seva.
Vaishnava Seva. A Vaishnava means three things. Jivadaya, Namaruchi, and Vaishnava Seva. If these three things are not happening in your life, you are not a Vaishnava. Jivadaya means compassion for others. When you have actually it starts with Vaishnava Seva first. So you start serving the Vaishnavas, you accept the spiritual master, you accept instructions from your Shiksha Gurus, your mentors like that. And then that is how you develop Namaruchi. You have developed Namaruchi by serving the Vaishnavas. And you are chanting the holy name. But you don't stop there. You actually go one step further and come to the stage of Jivadaya. And out of the compassion for the other devotees or other people, you start distributing that Nama, holy name, to others. And that is how then we become real Vaishnavas. So Vaishnava is, you serve the Vaishnavas, you develop love for the holy name, and also you develop compassion for others and start distributing the holy name that you have received. The Chintamani holy name that you have received, you don't keep it with yourself. You give it to others as well. And that is how it is. Jivadaya, Namaruchi, Vaishnava Seva. So these three things we have to do to get rid of this aghasur from our heart, which is the cruelty and violence that we have for others. So compassion, it is explained that Jivadaya, someone will say that Jivadaya means I'll give some money to someone. Someone will say that I'll give some food to someone. Or whatever they require, I'll give. That is fine. You can do that as well if you want. But Srila Prabhupada and our Acharyas have explained that real compassion is when you give them Krishna. Because all the material help that you will do, that will only last for a certain time. But if you give them Krishna, if Krishna is introduced in their life, that is eternal benefit. That will never finish. Isn't it? So that is how the real compassion is to give Krishna consciousness to others. Give the holy name to others. If they start chanting, they will go back to Godhead and all these material problems from their life will finish forever. And violence comes from envy. So we have to start practicing non-envy. What is this non-envy that we can practice? How can we practice non-envy?
By loving others.
By loving others, yes. What else?
By appreciating others.
Appreciating others, very good.
All the souls belongs to the Lord.
Yeah, understanding the real position. That they are actually part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. You are also part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. So that means they are brothers and sisters. We have one Supreme Father. So we have already some love for our close ones. Your brother, sister, relatives, parents. We have love because there is some attachment. We know that, oh, they are my relatives. So similarly, if we actually develop this understanding that we are all coming from Krishna, then we will not have hatred for them. We can develop compassion for them. And then we can start practicing non-envy. It is a required principle. If you want to actually progress in our devotional life, especially in this path of bhakti, non-envy or nirmassara, that is a required principle. Nirmassar is mentioned in the second verse of Srimad Bhagavatam immediately. In the first verse is explaining the supremacy of the Supreme Lord Krishna. The second verse says, Dharma projita kaitavotra paramo nirmatsaranam satam. So nirmatsaranam satam is saying that the Srimad Bhagavatam is giving us this pure devotional service. It is not an ordinary dharma that it is being given. It is a parama dharma. But who can understand this? It is saying only nirmatsara and satam. So those devotees who are nirmatsara, they are non-envious of the Supreme Lord and non-envious to everyone else, only those people will be able to understand Srimad Bhagavatam and will be able to progress towards Krishna. So if you, as a devotee, if you understand that your goal is to go back to Krishna, and Krishna has already given in Srimad Bhagavatam that you have to be non-envious. Without that, you are not able to progress in your devotional life. You have no choice but to become non-envious. Only then we can go back to Godhead. Otherwise, we will not be able to progress in our devotional life. So that was Aghasur. Any questions on Aghasur? So the next one is Dhenukasur. Dhenukasur is the ass demon. And Dhenukasur is representing Tamo Guna, ignorance. Because whenever we actually say, Are ekdam gada hai, what we mean is that you are so ignorant, you are not able to, you are so foolish, you are not able to understand anything. So Dhenuka means ass or donkey. This represents Tamoguna, gross materialistic intelligence. And Dhenukas or the donkeys are very hardworking actually. But they don't understand what are they working for. They will give up their entire time working so hard for so little gain. They get some grass. And they don't understand that this grass was anyway available. Without working so hard, even if they did not work, they would have gotten some grass free of cost somewhere. But still, they spend this materialistic, so they will spend all their time in these materialistic pursuits. So in comparison to all of us, we spend so much time on these materialistic activities. And we are so engrossed in that we don't keep any time for Krishna. So even devotees, they don't give priority to Krishna. They put their time into more and more material progress. They will put their time in more and more education. They will put their time in more and more earning more money or anything that is materialistic, some promotion in the job, anything that you will think that it is important for me. And for achieving that goal, they will spend so much time that their focus, which was there in the beginning on Krishna, will move on to those materialistic pursuits. For what? You are going to get that promotion, you will get that material opulence or whatever. You are going to leave everything behind. You are not going to go back to Krishna by gaining that extra material things. You can only go back and you can only keep Krishna in the center by giving him the first priority. You will only go back to Krishna if in your life Krishna is number one priority. Krishna doesn't like to be also on number two. So you may have 100 or 1,000 things in your life and you have made progress that bring Krishna from 10,000 to 9,999 like that, 999 and slowly 99, 10, 8, 7 like that, and it comes to number 2 in your life. Krishna says, not good enough. Come next time. He wants to be the number one priority in your life. Only when Krishna is at the number one priority, at that time, you will go back to Godhead. Otherwise, you will have to come back. So this Tamoguna we have to give up. This ignorance that we have in our heart, that we have to give up. Only then we will be able to progress. So how can we save? Very important thing which is mentioned, that Dhenukasur was killed by Balaram. And Balaram is the representation of the spiritual master. So the ignorance we can wipe off from our heart, simple by taking shelter of a guru. And you can actually, of course, take initiation, but also accept a mentor or a counselor who can actually help you in day-to-day life. And with that, you will be able to progress. We say, Om Ajnanati Mirandhasya, that is ignorance. That the ignorance is there, I am born in ignorance. And by taking shelter of a guru, I am going to progress and I am going to come to light. And the guru is going to tell us that you are not this body, you are a spirit soul. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. and he will also explain the importance of the holy name and give the holy name by chanting that we will progress. And then the ignorance will go away. One Swarupa, that we are the spirit soul, identity of the Harinam, which is Nama Chintamani Krishna, that we have already seen, an identity of Krishna. Krishna is the Supreme Lord, and that is how this ignorance will go away. And then we'll come to the next demon, which is the last one, the fifth one, Kaliya. So Kaliya is representing brutality and treachery. Why? Because Kaliya, this is very important and very important demon which we all have in our heart, we have to take out. So Kaliya, what he did? He came to Vrindavan, he came in Yamuna. So he came in devotee association. But what he did? By coming in devotee association, he added poison. So coming in devotee association and adding poison is Kaliya. So he poured poison into the residents of Vraja. And in what practically it means is rumor mongering or gossiping. So we have to actually get rid of this rumor mongering or gossiping from our heart if we want to actually progress. Because when we are actually doing this rumor mongering or gossiping amongst devotees, we are creating very big obstacles. We are becoming Kaliyas. Can you imagine that you are just doing some so-called gossip with some other devotee thinking that this is harmless, but you are becoming a Kaliya. You are putting some poison. You already have some poison. You are passing on that poison into others' heart as well. Let's take a simple example. Say you have devotee A and devotee B. And devotee A, like devotee B has some problem with devotee A. Now instead of talking to devotee A, B goes to C and says, hey, do you know what A did to me? And then the devotee says, oh really? Oh, devotee A did like this to you. And that actually sows a seed of a problem or a doubt in devotee C's heart as well. So devotee A and B, like B already has some problem with A, now C also starts thinking, oh, possibly the devotee A has some problem like this. Now over a period of time, what may happen? With some misunderstanding may come in devotee A and C, and at the same time C will remember, oh, B also told me like this. A is like this only. Now there are two people. And when we are actually having this kind of conversation, it is not 1 plus 1 is becoming 2. It is increasing logarithmically. 1 plus 1 becomes 11. Now imagine the C goes to D and talks to them. Now that chain will become 11 plus 11, 111. So logarithmically, it is creating problem. So not only the person who is telling is having this Vaishnava aparadh that is happening, but it is even harmful for a devotee to hear such problems. What should then C do in that case? C cannot just say that, no, don't come to me. No, don't tell me. No, a simple thing that the C can do and can say that, what am I going to do in this situation? You should go and talk to A. Or you can go and talk to A's superior. Some mentor that A may have, and that is how you can solve the problem. But what if A is your mentor or counselor? You have problem with them only. Then what can you do? See, anyway, if you have some other mentor or counselor, then you should take shelter of the other mentor or counselor, because having something in your heart for your mentor, and you cannot even go and talk to them about your problems, you are not going to make any spiritual progress. You are going to either remain there but there is nothing in Kali Yuga that remaining at one point. If you do not have respect and the way to accept it from your mentors, then you will not be able to progress on your spiritual life. You are going to fall down. So best is to accept another mentor or counselor. Or do you not have good relationship with your mentor? How did you accept a mentor or counselor like that? Obviously the mentor or counselor would have done something really good for you, for your spiritual life. Can you not just go and talk to them? And you humbly submit and say that somehow or the other I have created this misgiving. And it is my problem that somehow or the other I have created this misunderstanding about you. Can you please tell me that is that a misunderstanding or is there something that I can do to improve? And it is possible that the mistake may have happened from your mentor or counselor, and they can also change in their behavior. But if you keep that in your heart, it is not good for you, and it is worse if you actually keep telling to others, because then the other devotees will also thinking that, oh, this person is like this. Should I actually take any instruction? Should I use them for my spiritual progress or not? And slowly, this poison of Kaliya will kill so many gopas and cows which were there in Vrindavan. Kaliya killed so many gopas and cows as well, and calves. Similarly, this poison that one person is spreading can actually be like a wildfire, which is the next demon. It will spread like a wildfire and kill our devotional service. And this is the important thing. This is very, very important. This Kaliya is the worst kind of anartha that we can have for our spiritual progress. We will not only, you yourself will not progress, but with this poison, you will make other people will also fall down in our association. So please make sure that if someone comes to you, of course the person who's speaking gossip, they have to improve. At the same time, if someone comes to you and talk to you, you will also have to be intelligent enough to tell them what to do in that situation and not hear such things, because that is going to create problem for you. For the person who is actually doing this, what happened to Kaliya? Kaliya was removed from Vrindavan. That means from the Vaishnava community, this Kaliya was removed. So that is what will happen over a period of time. The Vaishnavas will understand that, oh, this association is not good for me. And they will start avoiding that person. And over a period of time, there will be no one left. In the beginning, someone may actually trust you and they listen to you. But over a period of time, they will give it up. And that way, will be removed from the devotee association, just like Kaliya was banished from Vrindavan. We don't want to be in that situation. We don't want to be a Kaliya. What we should do? Simple. Even if today you heard this and you feel that I need to do something, ask for forgiveness from the Vaishnavas that you have offended, directly or indirectly. That is the only way of getting rid of this Kaliya from our heart. Otherwise, there is no other way, there is no other way, there is no other way. Ask for forgiveness from the Vaishnavas, and that will help us progress. Stop spreading the rumors, stop spreading the gossips. Talk directly to your devotees, senior devotees who can help you in that situation instead of talking to others. Summary, who wants to summarize what we did? Which was the most important or worst anartha that we saw in today's? Kaliya. And do we not have Kaliyas, like many Kaliyas in our heart? Everyone has like little small Kaliya, big Kaliya.
Kaliya and many hoods.
Yeah, many hoods are there. Some will have a single hooded Kaliya, someone will have 1,000 hooded Kaliya. So we have to get rid of that Kaliya and not offend the Vaishnavas by fault finding is one of the worst apradhas, but even in distributing those faults to others, that way, you know what happened, and then polluting the mind with the poison that you have already accumulated in yourself, you are distributing, you are donating that. When I said you have to not be greedy and you have to donate, don't donate the poison. Poison you have to get rid of. And that you cannot get rid of by distributing to others. The poison we can only get rid of by humility and by surrendering to the Vaishnava to whom you are offending. So remember the Kaliya and how you can get rid of the Kaliya. And if you do that one thing from today's session, if you learn that, you will be successful in your devotional life. You will progress very fast. And all these other demons as well that we discussed are very important to remove those anarthas from our heart. Duplicity, envy, pride, violence, the greediness, and all of those we need to actually get rid of. Slowly by chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra and by praying to the Supreme Lord, we can actually get rid of. Actually, Bhakti Vinod Thakur mentions quite interesting thing. He says that all the demons who have been killed by Krishna, we can just get rid of them by one simple thing, by praying to the Supreme Lord Krishna. All these other endeavors can also help you. They are gross anarthas that we are trying to get rid of. But even if they remain in your heart in subtle form, just by worshipping Krishna and praying to Him, He will remove it. But if the gross anarthas are there, we need to take endeavor. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur mentions that those demons which were killed by Balaram, Pralambasur and Dhenukasur, those anarthas don't go easily. Bhaktivinoda Thakur mentions that for them, for removing those anarthas, the devotees have to take special effort yourself, endeavors yourself, and only those, that way you can get rid of them. So please pray to the Supreme Lord to remove those anarthas which were there in the subtle form, but also the gross form anarthas which are manifesting. You have to stop them and also take your do as best as you can and chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra.